Hi, boys and girls. All right, so today we are going to be looking at our first lesson that's in our math book. And to start off, we talked about how we always have a mental math. So today we're skip counting again. And today we're practicing skip counting by tens from 0 to 100, counting by fives from 0 to 50, or skip counting by twos from 0 to 30. So right now would be a good time for you to pause and then practice skip counting. And again, it'd be really great if you had someone there to listen and make sure that you are skip counting correctly. Okay. All right, now that you've paused and you should have restarted the video, now you would be working on the math message, and you would go ahead and you would try to figure out what is 20 more than 45. So again, you start at 45 and then you add 20 more. So that would be a good way for you to skip count. And you could say 45. Well, what's 10 more than 45? Because 20 is two tens. So 45, 55, 65, right? So you're skip counting in your head. But you can also work this out on paper, okay, or on a dry erase board or something. If whatever you have, this would be something you can work out. Math messages is okay for you to go ahead and solve. Okay. If you are now wanting to finish these, again, this would be something really good for you to do with a partner. So you should be able to pause and then continue working. All right, so now it's time for 1.1 number grids. Yes, or 2 days ago, you were practicing trying to just find the numbers on a number grid so that we would be able to actually do this objective. And so today we're going to try to meet that objective. Today we're going to be able to calculate the difference between two numbers on a number grid. And so something I want you to think about today is whenever you see this word difference, I want you to think like a karate chop. So everybody put your hand out like this, and I want you to say difference. Subtract, difference, subtract, because difference, whenever you see the subtract sign, difference means subtract. You're trying to find the difference, the subtraction. If you have one bigger number and a smaller number, you're trying to subtract them and find out what is in between, how many numbers are in between those two numbers. And today we're using a number grid to help us be able to do that. Okay, so I'm going to model. I'm going to talk about it first. I'm going to model one, and then you're going to be able to do this in your workbook and then in your HomeLinks book. I also have these on the computer, so if you would like to type your answers in the computer, you can do that so I can see them, or you can do the whole thing on the computer and not even worry about your workbooks. But if you don't want to copy them, you can just send me a picture of your workbook as well. Okay, if you need help with that, again, ask your parents and they can send me a picture through Parent Square. All right, so we talked about how number grids have patterns, right? So something that I think we got a little bit confused on that I don't think I did a good enough job explaining is that you always add 10, right? Going down, when you go down the number grid, see how the numbers get bigger going down? 18, 28, 38, 48, adding 10. But when you go back up, 67, 57, 47, 37, 27, right? The numbers are getting smaller. So we are minusing 10 each time, okay? So I want to make sure that that is clear, that when we go up, we're minusing, and when we go down, we're adding. Now when we go across, when we go forward, like reading a book, right, the numbers get bigger, 95, 96, 97, 98. So that means we're adding 1. But when we go backwards, 87, 86, 85, 84, 83, 82, right, the numbers are getting smaller. We're minusing 1. So we're going to be putting -1 or +1. So I hope that that makes it a little bit more sense, right? That it's always -1 going this way, -10 going up. When you go down, it's adding 10, and when you go over, it's +1. Okay, so again, if you need to look back at this, or if you need to write this down in your book, that would be a good thing to help you remember too, is to think about which way do I go, right? I want to remember these patterns when we are working, because when we go to solve the difference between them, we're going to really want to make sure we're skip counting correctly. Okay? Oops, not that. There we go. So how do I find the difference? Okay, if it says use the number grid, start at 35, how many spaces is it to 83? Well, the first step we're going to want to do is we're going to find both numbers on the number grid, and I want to mark them in some way. So I'm going to do a different color. Since you're going to be working on several different things today, it might be a good idea if you have out your crayons or your colored pencils, something for you to be able to tell the difference between all the different problems you're working on. So I'm going to use one color here. I'm using red right now. I'm going to start at 35. So I'm going to circle, where does it say 35? And if you don't have different colors with you, you can just, this time you might use a circle, next time you might use a square, the next time you might use a star. So that's a different way you can mark them. But I'm going to use a circle red circle. So how many spaces is it to 83? So it said mark both numbers. So I marked 35. Now I need to find 83. I'm going to circle that one. And now step 2, I did the first step, check. Second step, skip count on the number grid. So I need to skip from here to here, skip count. So I'm going to go down. And I know when I go down, I'm adding 10. I'm even going to draw that on here for me, like a little T for me to remember. So this way is minus 10. This way is plus 10. Okay, this way was plus 1. And this way was minus 1. Okay, so when I go down, I'm adding 10. All right, 35. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, now I'm not quite there. I need to go backwards. When I go this way, I'm minusing 1. So I was at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. 50 minus 1 is 49. 49 minus 1 is 48. So I think my answer would be 48. Now, I skip counted, but I want to check to make sure I counted correctly. I want to make sure I didn't make a mistake. So step 3 says check your work with the up and down subtraction. Okay, I see so many times students writing like this. I see students going, all right, 83 minus 35. Okay, you can do this, but I'm going to let you know it's so much simpler. You can definitely check your work so much better if you write it up and down. So 83 minus 35. Okay, and we have not focused on subtraction. This is our first lesson, so that's why we're really using the number grid. But you should have learned how to do subtraction last year, so hopefully you will be able to do this. If sometimes there's borrowing that you need to do, or trading, so if it's tricky like that, I'll let you use a calculator too if you need to. Okay, just now until you get better at trading. So 3 minus 5, can't do it, so I need to borrow from my neighbor. Okay, so I take one of the 10s and I add that 10 here. 10 plus 3 is 13. So 13 minus 5, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All right, so my answer is 8. 7 minus 3, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Okay, so my answer is 4. So my answer here, when I subtracted 83 minus 35, is 48. And that's the same thing that I had here. So I was able to check my work. Check. So I know that I did it correctly. Now, what do I not want you to do? I do not want you to immediately use your calculator, because I said you could use it, and do this and just write your answer. Is that going to help you? No. Okay, I want you to make sure that you're understanding of how to skip count on here, so that when we get to harder things, and this is just the first lesson of the year, so it's going to get harder. So we want to make sure that we're practicing so that when you can do it on your own later. Okay, so I'm going to have you do this. Okay, so I just did that here. So I'm going to try it again here. It says first, which is more, 83 or 33. So I know that I'd rather have $83 than $33, and it wants to know which one's more, and more means like I want more in my hand. So I know I would rather have 83 because it's more. Now, how much more? Okay, that means it wants me to subtract. I'm finding the difference, right? Subtract. So it's just like what I just did, right? So I want you to kind of talk it out with me as I go. So I find my numbers, 83, right? And 33 this time. And now I can skip count. And look, they both have the 3 and the 1's digit. So I'm just counting by tens. I don't even have to subtract by 1. So I'm going to skip count down. Remember, when I go down, the numbers are getting bigger. So I'm adding, and I'm adding by tens because the tens place is changing. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And I don't have to go anymore. So I know that this is 50 more. Okay, and I can check it by doing my up and down subtraction. 83 minus 33. This one, you don't have to borrow or trade, so it's okay. So 3 minus 3 is 0. 8 minus 3 is 5. Right? Same thing as I had here. I did all 3 of my steps, so I am good to go. So now you guys are going to be able to work on this worksheet. Again, see how there's all these different problems? Okay, they want you to say which one is more or which one's less. So here, first the ones say less, okay, and then they say which one's more. Okay, then they want you to subtract these numbers. And see how there's all of these? That's why I said you might want to use a different color. So like for the first one, I might use red. The second one, I would use blue, right? Maybe I'll use green. Again, you can always star them and say, okay, this one and this one are circles. These two numbers, I might put a star next to it just so that it's easier for you to find on the grid. Make sure you are subtracting them and writing your answers here, okay? This is kind of an extension. This is going to be a little bit more difficult. There's a lot more to do, but I would like for you to do them, okay? So this is kind of more of thinking it out. This one is going to be just finding the difference right away, okay? Again, you can still use your number grid. Okay, it's still good for you to be able to use. If it gets too confusing on here, remember you can always use your e-toolkit and find your backgrounds, and there is a number grid there if you would like to use it as well. That's on the green e-toolkit on your Everyday Math website. If you work this out in your workbook, again, please make sure that you write your answers online so I can see what you wrote, okay? Or take a picture of it and have your parents send it through Parent Square, okay? So I can see your work, and I will need to be able to read your answers, okay? Then your UDO is, again, this is on the computer, okay? But this is also in your HomeLinks book, okay? This is HomeLinks 1.1 in your HomeLinks book. So if you would rather do it on paper and you want to send it to me through a picture, that's fine. Or you can do it on there and then type your answers on here. That's great too. Please make sure you are explaining how you solved this problem. What strategies did you use? How do you know it's correct? Did you skip count by tens or skip count by ones, backwards or forwards? How did you know if you were adding or subtracting? Okay, so explain what you did using numbers. Okay, so I look forward to seeing your answers. And then when you're done, don't forget to reflect. Think about, talk to somebody in your family or whoever's at home with you and talk about what were the patterns? What did you use to help you be able to solve? And how do you feel right now? What helped you feel successful, hopefully, by the end of the lesson? What did you do that helped you be able to meet today's objective? All right. Have a great day, guys. Email me with any questions. Bye.